This will probably be our final episode on the Tumlinson Garman story. Just to refresh your memory, in 1958, while I was working at the stone cabin of Hart Mullins out in Queen Valley, Bob Garman and Mr. Mullins met with my dad while I was actually at the stone cabin. I watched them pull in, and when I went out, the introductions had already been made, but I went along with them, and we ended up going up to Hewlett Canyon to Bayous Butte. And that you know the story that we can post here so you can see it again, about the pit mine that was up there, which they were looking for a cache. And but before we went over to the pit mine, we stopped at the very west end of the Three Red Hills, where there's two small red hills. And they had a claim there that they were working, and I couldn't remember too much about it myself because we were absorbed with going over to the pit. I decided I wanted to try to find out if we could find any evidence whatsoever of their workings. So Dave Jones and our wilderness guide, because I stayed in the car, they went on a trek over there and began quite a little search in the area. And lo and behold, Dave found this claim marker, and it had been washed away and destroyed by erosion. And the rocks were still there, the post was still there, and it was obviously quite old. And they began searching around for any evidence of workings. And you know, over 65 years of summer monsoons and stuff that destroyed that marker, obviously pretty much destroyed any evidence of any workings. But within a certain parameter of that, I'm going to call it a claim marker, but I think it was probably just a claim in itself, just a marker in itself, rather than a claim marker, because we found no evidence of the three other corners. The earth had been pretty much disturbed, and it was unlike any of the earth outside of a certain area around that marker. Anyway, it was an interesting trip, and we did find evidence of the working. How old it was, we wouldn't be able to tell. It could have been as far back as the Woodburys in the early 1900s. But more likely, I'm thinking it was around the 1950s that was established.
I can't be more excited about any story we've done because I got to go back. I mean, back to our #1 story on the channel so far, and that we called it the Peralta Mine Lost, the pit mine, the cache. Larry's talked about it in the Tumlinson and Bob Garman story. And for me, it was fun because we went looking for the claim that Bob Garman and Travis Tumlinson were working when Larry went up to visit that mine that we were talking about, the pit mine, the Lost Peralta Mine, whatever we wanted to call it. Let's just call it the pit mine, or I'm going to get really confused. But so we went there looking for the claim, trying to find where Bob Garman got all his money. We've done those stories recently. And we looked all over the place, and I was with our wilderness guide. And since we were in that area, I talked him in, let's go back to a place I said I would never go back again. And I know you don't ever want to go back there again. Larry took a real beating the last time he went there. It was an amazing trip. But I went back, and I took our guide there. And I discovered that there's not just a pit mine or a stash or whatever, which is called a pit mine. There's not only the pit mine, there's also another larger cave that was mined as well nearby that I didn't take the time to look at. I know Larry and Charlie did when we were there, but I didn't because I was so tired. I just wanted to get down off that mountain. And then there's another cave to its right and another little cave off to its left. So there's 4 hiding places up there. And for me, those places have been used to hide for thousands of years. There's Indian pottery in there. There's evidence that the Indians used that as a place to hide away from things. So when you say, when someone has the supposition that there was mining there could have been a stash there, it all makes sense because it's such a well-hidden place, and you walk there and it's just like, even our wilderness guide who spent his life up in the Superstition Mountains all over that area was just, his jaw dropped when he saw this place. It is that much of an amazing place. And I took a lot more pictures this time. And the biggest question that we had when we went up there the first time is, why didn't you bring a rope? Why didn't you go down to the bottom of the mine? And as you know, we did go down, didn't we? Charlie went down. I didn't go down. I went halfway down. Charlie went all the way down. But I got pictures to the bottom of the mine this time. So Larry, after seeing those pictures of us going back, what do you think? Anything changed from that day way back when?
I didn't see anything that had changed. It was still almost exactly the same as it was. And I just don't think very many people have been there before. Well, I know half a dozen people that went there because I told them while they were looking for my phone that I lost.
That's
and
right.
They all ended up there, but then nothing was disturbed in any way.
Now, it was really interesting to go back up there because the one big cave that I didn't look in the first time I was there was really big. I was surprised. And there was all kinds of Indian pottery all over the floor of that. And they also had mined there. That's where most of the tailings were from that were down below. They had mined a fault on the side of the cave, and it went all the way back in there to a round hole that they were digging. So they were looking for a stash. I don't know if I didn't really see mineralization like I've seen other places.
Well, the main pit mine, it had the ladder in it that Charlie went down to the bottom. I made it very clear in that story that Mullins was looking for a stash, a cache. Probably based upon the fact that what they had found previously, they were looking for more of it.
Right.
And it is not in a mineralized zone. It's just a hole in the ground. There's no mineralization there whatsoever. So it was obvious that they were looking for a cache.
Okay. Well, and honestly, I couldn't think of a better hiding place.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
It might be really hard to get your gold ore up there to hide it, but I couldn't think of a better hiding place.
Yeah.
So if you were following the theory of, Peralta treasure, which we know is not real, or looking for stash from the Lost Dutch from Jacob Waltz, that would be a good place.
Yeah, we had to do some speculation ourselves as to exactly what they were, whether it was the Dutchman's stash or one of his, or whether it was something else. We can't be sure because we don't know exactly what they found.
Yeah, we really don't. Unfortunately, it's a mystery to us, but something happened there.
Yep.
Well, one thing was really neat is that pit mine with the ladder in it is still like it was. I mean, I would be willing to bet that there's been less than a dozen people been in there since we were there, because it was still super overgrown and hard to get into. And I could still see where I had used my body to fall on the branches to make a trail, because it was still broken in the places I broke it. And there was not any footprints going up there. It's been a few years.
Yeah.
We did find some honeycomb all over the place. Obviously, there's been a bear or something up in there. And you said that was bear country.
Yeah, there was a couple of times I was out there in years past that I saw a bear and one with cubs. And that's the one you don't want to fool with.
No. But the big cave is quite large, and we'll put pictures up of that, obviously. And so it was fun for me to see that again, because that was amazing. There was all kinds of pieces of Indian pottery on the floor of that.
Yeah.
We didn't take any of it or disturb it, but it was there. But there'd been a lot of digging in that first cave. But then the pit mine with the ladder in it was really interesting, because I started looking at it a little more carefully, and I put a 360-degree camera in there so I could look all the way around at it. And that whole cave looks like the water could come off the edge of the mountain and fall on the outside of that cave, and it's all sloped towards the mine. So any water that came down would go into that area. So maybe the Indians used that as a place way back in the day to collect some water, and gave the impression that there could have been something buried there, and people started digging. That's where the ladder and everything came. But it's a really neat place.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful you took us there. And I said I'd never go back because it was brutal. But I'll tell you what, when we went the way you told us to go, the way you went back in the day, when you drove up to the foot of the mountain and followed the foothill up, a million times easier.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A million times easier.
In fact, you can show them how. You can show them pictures of what I looked like after I went down that hill.
Well, all I can say is when you're going to the Superstition Mountains, and I said it's right over there, let's just go straight there. Don't listen to me, because I'm the one that said that. You and Charlie just said, okay, let's go. And we went up there and it about killed us. It about killed us.
Yeah.
But it was grateful that we went up there, and it was amazing to go back. And it's still there. The ladder's still intact. I actually climbed all the way down to the bottom this time myself. We got pictures down there. And our guide went down there, and it's a really amazing place. And I don't know if they found some gold there or some stash there or found some gold ore there.
I don't either.
At this point, it's just kind of one of those mysteries because that was done way back in the day.
Way back.
Way back. But what a cool place.
Well, it was interesting when Tom Collenborn had made the statement as he drove past Bayous Butte and pointed off to the west and said, this is where Bob Garman got all his money. Well, we know that Bob was the guide for the Travis Tumlinsons as they searched all the canyons east of Weaver's Needle, south to Queen Valley or Queen Creek. And they spent a great deal of time in Millsite Canyon. And they had several claims in the area. And just exactly what they come up with, we're not going to be able to say. So Garman met the Tumlinsons in 1952. But here's a picture of Garman with the Mullins brothers in 1951. So Garman was working with the Mullinses long before he met the Tumlinsons. And it was my thinking that, you know, after they spent so much time in Millsite Canyon and these other canyons, that they ended up over in Hewlett Canyon, where Mullins already knew about the Woodburys and the Mullinses and the stuff that went on over there. So it was my theory that it wasn't really the map that they were using that belonged to his grandfather that led him to anything. It was Bob Garman that led him to something. But whether they found it in Millsite or they found it in Hewlett, we're just not exactly sure, but they found something. And it's just another mystery of the Superstition Mountain.
Thank you for watching this episode of Mysteries of the Superstition Mountains.